There's always going to be some attorney charging rock bottom prices and doing terrible lawyering, right? I started looking around and realizing even the good attorneys I looked up to, they're losing money on every seven, and I can't do that. That was a game-changing moment of, okay, there's got to be a way that I can make our process more efficient, but how do we make this work better? I need to charge more money because we're delivering good quality services. I deserve it. We're worth it. If I don't charge enough money to cover my overhead, I'm not going to still be in business much longer.
You identified what it costs you for a bankruptcy to get it out the door, and you needed to raise your fees. Was that easy for you?
It's a process because on one hand, you want to help people, right? How do we help people but also charge an appropriate price? We came up with an upcharge list. Staff time costs less money. Here's a factor that costs more: attorney time. Wherever you practice, things work differently, but develop a list. This is my base price. I'm comfortable with, no matter how much I love that client, if they've got some of these upcharge factors, they need to pay more. First off, I had to raise the lowest price, but then I've gotten more comfortable with these upcharge factors as I've reviewed the cases, especially the messy ones. Okay, that case went very badly, but we did spot that at intake. We charged the right upcharge factor and made money on the case. The client got a successful outcome, even though everybody in the law firm knew that client's name. It was still a good case and a good outcome because we had those upcharge factors to have a specific price. And that's one of the things that drives me crazy in bankruptcy. I was looking at a tremendously complex case. The guy's earning $9,000 a month and the attorney charged $1,250. I know he charged $1,250 because it probably says on the door, all bankruptcies, $1,250. Colossal mistake. When you're doing that, you're subsidizing your practice on the low income clients because those cases are easy and the rich clients are getting a bankruptcy that's cheaper than is appropriate.
I wish every trustee thought like you. The horror stories I have heard. I too had been disgouged. When I built the firm in Phoenix, the trustee said, "You charge too much." I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing. We learned our limits, right? Sometimes it's choice. Oftentimes, they don't have a choice. This has to be done this way, and this work is going to cost this much. And if they say somebody else might charge less, that may or may not be the case, but you're still going to have to do all these things. If they don't charge you the right amount, you're not going to get the service you want simply because they're going to be too busy serving everybody with a skeleton staff. Attorneys think so-and-so down the road charges $1,200
right,
for the same case. And they think everybody knows that.
Yeah.
They have no idea what so-and-so charges most of the time. Sometimes you get the price shopper and you the last call on the rung. That happens. Most of the time, they called you because you were the first number on Google and you're the first to get them in the door and you met them and you closed the deal and they had no idea that somebody would charge $1,200 for less quality service. But every lawyer, I know for a fact, they have all had that client that they didn't charge enough for. Everybody in their office knows that client's name because they've called 12 times yesterday. Crazy clients happen. My mentor told me, don't let the bad ones ruin it for the good ones.
If you're charging enough to have a little bit of a cushion, then when a case does turn south, you haven't lost the ability to pay rent because you weren't losing money on every case.
It's nice for an attorney to be able to raise prices without feeling like they've got to just raise the prices. Do you agree?
Right. Absolutely. It's traditionally things that a prospect that's going to move forward with some of those needs it. You've got to be profitable to help clients. Not being profitable means as a firm, you're only going to be in existence for so long because at some point that was going to run dry. For as many people like you, Luke, that invest in information or resources, take it and implement it, there's the other side that invest in resources and do nothing with it. What motivated you to actually take it and implement it?
The biggest thing was the absolute reality of I am about to become a crushing failure, right? I love what I do. I love helping people get out of debt, right? But my family needs me to pay the mortgage and buy groceries. And I got to be able to do those things. I got to be able to meet my professional goals of helping people get out of debt. I either had to reinvent the law firm or quit and get a W-2 job, which I didn't want to do. I love running a law firm and being an entrepreneur. I also have to feed my family. I also have to take care of my employees.
I have a question. You said the word entrepreneur. Was your mom and dad an entrepreneur?
My dad's a workers' comp attorney in California. I actually worked for my dad for 5 years. My dad's the kind of attorney where it's him and a secretary. And so it's so much more of a traditional law offices. I always saw the practice of law as more of a business. You know, okay, Dad, how do we build this out? How do we get some advertising? How do we systematize these things? And he's much more of a, it's me and the secretary and the cases come and we work the cases, right? So I think it was that just, this is not the way. I want to have a successful business. So then I moved to Oklahoma and I worked for a bankruptcy attorney, but I did everything from intake to doc collection, petition prep, court appearances. And as I was doing it, I kept thinking, we've got to be able to have a documents collection person. We've got to have systems in order to have a profitable practice. And the more I was doing these cases, the more I was thinking, okay, how would I build this out? How would I develop a person, a staff, a machine? I don't want clients to feel like it's a machine, but we want cases to come through smoothly and with all parts assembled correctly so we get the right outcome.
Yeah, that idea. Can we bring clients in volume? Serve them, make it so our crew, our staff feels good and enjoys their job, and allow the company to be profitable and the owner of the company to reap some rewards of that? And the answer is yes. We've seen that over and over, but there's many that don't believe that too, yeah?
Of course, there's both segments. One of the things you said, which tipped the hat as to why you did implement, is you view things a little differently. So you actually viewed it as a business, and that's very rare for attorneys. So that mindset, you were born with that, or did you adopt that over time?
I think I just adopted it over time. As I was deciding to start my own law firm, looked around at what was out there, and there's some very talented attorneys in town, right? But those guys have a small firm taking a couple cases. Then there was a mega firm, there was a mill where it filed a ton of cases at a very low quality. I thought there's got to be a way to hit high quality and more than 5 cases a month. So many people need high quality representation and that need is not being met. How do we build it?
Do you use scripts and structures on your phone room and on your consult room?
Yeah, we have a lot of structure. Somebody calling and just shopping around for the lowest price, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things my staff is trained to say is we can't just quote you a price right now because we don't know anything about you. And every case is different. Let my non-attorney salesperson learn about your specific situation. Once we learn about you, we can tell you what it'll cost. And I've got an 8-page set of questions that the paralegal will be asking them over the phone. And so it's very process driven. You can't quote them a price. You can't give them legal advice. Let's gather all the information and then say, we think bankruptcy is a good fit and it'll cost you this much because your case involves this level of complexity. And if you're a simple 7, that's great. That means we can give you our lowest possible price because it's going to go smoothly and easily and simple.